All right, we're in the airway and breathing course, talking about some fundamental stuff here in the laryngoscopy unit. We've talked about epiglottoscopy, hunting for the epiglottis, talked about direct laryngoscopy technique, and now we're going to talk about video laryngoscopy for those services that have video. Now, video is more expensive, but the cost of these tools has come down over the last several years, and it really does add to your ability to get first pass success. You almost eliminate grade 4s from your life. You know, your grade 3 view is probably your worst with video laryngoscopy. Several sources indicate that whatever grade you're looking at with DL, you can subtract 2 when you go to VL. So VL is great for getting you a view. It's great for getting you a view, but there's some technique issues. There's really several out there. The one that came around here first was the GLIDESCOPE. It's in a couple of the ERs on one of the ambulance services. We have King Visions for our program in class, but if I had my choice, I would start with a McGrath, and that would be the best thing out there. I can't imagine how I couldn't intubate somebody with a McGrath laryngoscope. Hey, they're electronic. They've got batteries, so batteries are going to cause issues. There's a little different technique too. This is going to allow you to get an excellent view, but if you don't match your curve of your tube to the curve of the laryngoscope blade, you're going to have geometry problems. You're going to be able to see but not get in. So the best view may not always be your best option. With the King Vision, we're finding you have to back up just a little bit, back out of the mouth a little bit, give yourself just a shade worse view, and you get a whole lot better results. And the last note is about training. If you're not going to train with these things, then they're not going to bail you out. We think that video is for first pass use. We don't think you save the VL for that really hard airway. We think you use it every time. The fact of the matter is that paramedics don't get to intubate enough people to be really proficient and stay proficient. And so our focus and our strategy is use all the techniques the first time and have it be the only time you're in the airway. Successive trips into the airway produce more problems without a doubt, the least of which being a delay in ventilation oxygenation. So train, and if you're not going to train with these tools, they're not going to be ready when you need them. GLIDESCOPE was the first one to come around here. This is the GLIDESCOPE Ranger. It's a two-piece thing. The screen sits away from the device. It pretty much takes a person to hold the screen for you, and then you to work on the airway. The other thing you've really got to understand is that GLIDESCOPE comes with a rigid stylet. You're supposed to use their stylet with their laryngoscope, not a bougie, not your own stylet shaped however you want. It's supposed to be their stylet, and their stylet is rigid. And that's because of this deal of matching the curves. The geometry is a big deal. It's all a bunch of curves and rotational stuff. And so you really want to use that GLIDESCOPE stylet if you're going to be using the GLIDESCOPE. Here's the King Vision that we've got in class. It has two different blades, the channeled blade and the standard blade. The channeled blade allows you to stick the ET tube in the blade, which takes care of that matching of the curve problem. And you can get excellent views. Sometimes such a good view that you can't get your tube to pass. You've got too much traction on the epiglottis or in the vallecula, and you've stretched the structures, and you can see great, but you can't get your tube to pass. It keeps going below and into the esophagus. The picture there on the right of what is probably too good of a view. The one on the top right would be a more preferred view where you can maybe not see the full glottic. Maybe it's a grade 2 as opposed to a grade 1. And you'll have a little better technique there. So you'll get used to this. There's very little force used here. It's more rocking in and out of the mouth than it is lifting. And so in your very heavy patient, or if maybe you have a little bit of arm strength issue, you may find the King Vision to be a really cool tool. I personally think this is the answer. If I had an extra 3,000 sitting around, I'd have one of these for myself. The video screen on this thing flips up for you. So this is a standard, more or less standard DL laryngoscope. So the practice and the techniques and the muscle memory and the skill I've developed over the years I can use this as video assistance. I don't have to use the video. It's a regular laryngoscope, a regular DL scope with a really cool screen that will bail me out if I get in trouble. On the other hand, I wouldn't do that. I would go in, watch it on video the whole time. It's very small, very lightweight, very field friendly. It's the McGrath Mac for EMS, has different size blades that go on it. Boone Hospital Center's using these here locally, and so we borrow one from them for some practice in class. So currently the university's using GLIDESCOPes. We can borrow those for lab. Boone's using McGrath's. We can borrow those for lab. We've got King Vision. So of the 3 videos, VL scopes that are out there, we think we've got you pretty well covered with practice opportunities. So technique, and this is really important. If you want to remember 2 things about VL technique. One is the curve has got to match the curve of the blade. The curve of the tube has to match the curve of the blade. That's one. And the second thing is this technique. You go mouth screen, mouth screen. So you look in the mouth to place your VL scope, and in most cases they are curved blades. You're going for the vallecula. Then you look at that screen while you're going to place the tip of the blade in the vallecula. Then you look back in the mouth to place your ET tube in, and then look at the screen to watch the tip of your tube and place it where you want. So mouth screen, and that's one of the 2 big things. Match the curvature of your tube to the curvature of the VL blade, number 1. And number 2, mouth screen, And those are a couple of things that you should know. Again, as I said before, if I run across you out in public somewhere, I should be able to walk up behind you and say, tell me the 2 important things about VL. And you will say that you got to match your curve of your tube to the curve of the blade, and you use mouth screen. So that's VL technique.